My friends, each video game, no matter how obscure, can create deeply embedded memories that, no matter how much time goes by, we do not shake or forget. But sometimes there are deeply unusual hidden treasures in these games, bizarre lore featuring those who played, or strange oddities which went unnoticed by most and have been forgotten by nearly all in the years since. In this video, we have a number of Nintendo 64 secrets and oddities, most of which I believe you will not have thought about or experienced yourself, and if so, at least for not quite a while. A strange billboard, some unusual childhood tales that remind us of our own blessings, a mismapped piece of geography that the developers should not have missed, and revisiting perhaps the most enduring Nintendo 64 legend with a new perspective and theory. Here's a collection of Nintendo 64 deep lore, secrets, and oddities.
Here we go!
In June 2007, an unknown speedrunner by the name of Dion Goodman began posting personal records to the elite GoldenEye World Rankings, showing a lot of promise as a quickly rising speedrunner and culminating in a mightily impressive world record tie of runway secret agent 23 seconds. Now, even back then, this was a very common record, with 37 people having had a tie of the score. But Dion's video got a lot of attention in the community because he received only 3 forward boosts, instead of the usual 5 or 6. While not impossible, this did raise some eyebrows, as it suggested either the gameplay of some kind of prodigy behind the controller, or perhaps something fishy going on. Speculation ran rampant for several days, wondering if this Dion Goodman was a real player, or perhaps an experienced player using an alternate identity. Until an admin of the community forum noticed that Dion's IP address matched that of known player Supa Aidyn. Supa Aidyn was simply using an alt identity to prove some kind of point about the community needing to lighten up or something. Perhaps his plan was not all that well thought through, but the point is, Supa Aidyn may have been able to better flesh out his case and make more of a difference with his endeavor if only he were using SurfShark VPN. Yes, indeed, my friends, of course you know the good work SurfShark VPN can do for you, like giving you access to a fresh IP address, including from over 3,200 servers in over 100 countries, or helping you access geolocked or censored content, or helping you avoid price discrimination when booking things like hotels or online subscriptions. But there's even way more to SurfShark than all that. You see, one active SurfShark account can be used on unlimited devices. And I mean, who doesn't have multiple devices these days? You can even set it up on a tablet that you share with your spouse or siblings or parents who might not be as secure as you when using the internet. And now there's even the amazing SurfShark One bundle, which packs in numerous SurfShark products into one amazing subscription. SurfShark Antivirus, a powerful antivirus to protect you from strange and malicious threats online. SurfShark Search, private and ad-free search to avoid tracking. SurfShark Alert, to detect data breaches that include your personal information. And the incredible Alternative ID, which can give you a brand new online identity, email, and phone number, perfect for when you're signing up for those newsletters or products that might be a little spammy, to avoid bogging down your real identity. And of course, perfect for when you want to use an alt account to speedrun as some new unknown speedrunner for the mystique of the situation or whatever reason you wish. So my friends, try it out now. Use my link surfshark.com/gamerfolklore when you sign up, and you'll get 4 extra months of your SurfShark subscription for free. Now that is truly amazing. And SurfShark comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can take your time to try out the service and experience the whole SurfShark VPN potential. Honestly, an amazing deal at a time like this, with so many tools to help you and protect you on your daily browse throughout the World Wide Web. That's surfshark.com/gamerfolklore for 4 extra months to your subscription. Don't wait, you never know what threat is lurking around the next corner. Thanks, SurfShark. And now, onto the rest of the video. Here's one that was pretty well known decades ago, but hasn't been discussed much lately, despite some recent developments. Have you ever played the game California Speed? Maybe, maybe not. It's not exactly an obscure title, but not a super popular one either. It's one of many arcadey racing games developed by Atari and published by Midway, which ended up getting a cartridge on the Nintendo 64. Now, California Speed in particular has tracks which are themed in, well, California, of course, and in most of these stages we see various things in the distance decorating the tracks. Textures, billboards, advertisements, very typical things one might expect to see in an arcadey racing game. Well, except for this one billboard on the Mojave Desert stage, a very unusual white billboard with black text that simply reads, "Sometimes God takes mommies and puppies away, and sometimes, just sometimes, I do." Now, what in the world could be going on here? How did some kind of edgelord text that sounds like the intrusive thoughts of a man going through divorce end up in the 1998 video game California Speed? Was this intentional? A hidden Easter egg? Does it refer to something in-game? A hidden unlock or secret level? Okay, that would be crazy, but with such a strange and out-of-place sign, who knew? I mean, it's just so out of place and so bizarre, no billboard throughout the rest of the game looks like this, and strangely, it only appears twice, only on the stage Mojave Desert, once roughly 15 to 20 seconds into the stage, and again a little more than halfway as well. Now, this was first widely discovered and referenced in 2012 in a post made to Reddit's r/creepygaming subreddit, and videos pondering the sign got millions of views in the earlier days of YouTube. There was even an article on cracked.com, remember that website in the early days of the internet, or at least the middle days of the internet, discussing the strange story. Perhaps some had noticed it before this point, but even on game FAQs, for example, there's not a single question that's ever been asked about the game, let alone the sign. And the board section for California Speed just has spammy, low-content type of posts. I can't really imagine many other places where this game would have been discussed, and so maybe no one really noticed this or posted online until 2012. Now, furthermore, when it comes to YouTube videos detailing this unusual mystery, I could only find videos before more information was revealed about this strange sign. However, more information would indeed be revealed in February 2016, thanks to a journalist or writer named Randall Rigdon for a website called Pop Optic, who was able to get in touch with someone who worked on California Speed directly, Morgan Iron Fist Godat, whose name we can see in the end credits. Morgan's story, told to Randall and published on the Pop Optic website, recounts that essentially the team working on the game were feeling the time crunch of getting the game finished before release, so I guess that's one thing that hasn't changed in the game development industry since the 90s. Well, anyways, according to Morgan, it sounds like some of the billboards were very specific to things one might find in an arcade, and made no sense to be on a Nintendo 64 cartridge, so the texture artists were told to change out some of the billboards at the last minute. Morgan claims he wrote in this insane text as a placeholder that could never have possibly been missed when doing the final review and shipping the game. But of course, it was indeed missed, and the game shipped permanently, with the strange billboard eternally etched into its memory. What a remarkable tale. Morgan never revealed exactly what inspired him to write these exact words, but indeed, if this story is the real deal, then it's a remarkable job by Randall Rigdon to track down Morgan Iron Fist Godat for his article on the Pop Optic website. Honestly, some of the best gaming journalism done this century. Now that's what I'd call ethics in gaming journalism. So there's the full and complete story of the strange and unsettling billboard in California Speed's Mojave Desert. Don't get too spooked, as it really was just the random, if not intrusive thoughts used as a placeholder by a young gaming developer. the words that somehow never got replaced before the game shipped away to the living rooms and basements of thousands of 90s gamers. Have you ever played the game Pilotwings 64? Maybe or maybe not, but it's quite a foundational game in the development of three-dimensional games and the Nintendo 64. It was a launch game aside Super Mario 64 and perhaps doesn't get as much credit as it deserves. But there are many odd and unusual things with this game, which I wanted to discuss on this channel. So here's one today to get us pondering. There are 4 courses in the game, full interactable 3-dimensional worlds which are all cool in their own right and would make great mods for Super Mario 64 or GoldenEye multiplayer or whatever. So someone please get on that, it would be truly amazing. But this one course, Little States, is a replica of the United States of America. It's pretty accurate and detailed, especially for its time, all things considered, and we can see small versions of New York City, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, St. Louis, the so-called flyover states, and many, many more incredible pieces of Americana. You can very clearly see these buildings, landmarks, and skyscrapers that are all references to the cities at hand, and very well-built ones. One thing I found odd, and can't find anyone ever having discussed it online, has to do with the Little States version of Washington, D.C. If we check it out, we can see the various landmarks in Washington, D.C. The White House, the Capitol Building, the Lincoln Memorial, the National Mall, the Washington Monument. Pretty much what you'd expect in a small-scale replica. But take a look at the cardinal directions on screen in the game. And now let's take a look at the map of actual Washington, D.C. landmarks. Unbelievably, they seem to have rotated Washington, D.C. 90 degrees in the Pilotwings version. In reality, the White House is to the north, the Capitol buildings to the east, the Lincoln Memorial to the west, but the in-game version has the Capitol building to the north, the White House to the west, the Lincoln Memorial to the south. The whole thing is rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise. This is especially odd because the other cities are generally built pretty well in order to their real-world counterparts. And it's not like the developers were restricted by any means, as they built this entire level from scratch, rather than some pre-existing engine. Could they have intentionally mismapped Washington, D.C. as a matter of national security? I mean, that seems pretty outlandish given the amount of maps and resources that would have been about Washington even at the time. So maybe this is just a simple error that the developers made nearly 30 years ago. Whatever the case, it is definitely something very unusual that I've never seen noted by anyone else before on the internet. While I generally try to keep things light and inspiring on this channel, some young gamers often found themselves immersed in these games to escape or avoid perhaps less pleasant real lives lived. Another incredibly poignant example of this comes from a comment on a YouTube video about one of the N64's few role-playing games, Aidyn Chronicles: The First Mage. The comment is on a video from creator Casp, who began a series playing and commenting on every Nintendo 64 RPG back in 2017. The general reception to Aidyn Chronicles was pretty mixed or below average. One thing that's especially noticeable when you see footage of the gameplay is that the main character runs so slowly. Imagine trying to complete a massive sprawling RPG when you can only run this fast. Here's a quote from the Wikipedia page for the game, what an IGN writer had to say about it all. IGN's John Griffith stated that the scope of it was too large and led to a really, and I mean really, tedious experience. It has no way of pulling you into the story or gameplay. Okay, so now for the comment. Despite the game not being very good, here's what commenter Caleb B wrote on Casp's video. This was one of the few games I had growing up and genuinely enjoyed. I was poor as heck, bullied mercilessly, and my home life sucked, but my N64 and this game provided an escape. Man, that certainly feels bad, man. At least the creator Casp followed up. It's honestly not a horrible game to lose yourself in. It's expansive and full of enough customization and variables to keep a kid going. I'm glad it provided you an important escape. Hope you're doing better now, buddy. To which Caleb B responded, I am, man. Thanks. And so perhaps all is well that ends well, but it really just shows you that you never know what your fellow gamers are going through or may have gone through in the past. Honestly, something I wish I kept in mind more interacting with people in various communities throughout the past 20 years. For Aidyn Chronicles of all games to be the much needed escape for Caleb, it certainly is odd in that this must have been a very unique experience for Caleb growing up, playing and being so dedicated to this game. And it is also uplifting, at least in a way, that there was somewhat of an escape for him, and that he's doing much better now. And finally today, let's revisit one of the Nintendo 64's most iconic mysteries, with a bit of a new perspective: the old Chicago Ghost. As a quick refresher, the Chicago Ghost is something between an old urban legend and strange childhood memory, where numerous gamers recall having played the Chicago stage in Perfect Dark, exploring down to the Punk Pond, an Easter egg area unto itself where no objective takes place, and upon entering are immediately met with a grisly end by being shot by an invisible or cloaked crossbow-wielding guard. This memory is the same across all iterations of people who've experienced the Chicago Ghost, being shot by a cloaked crossbow guard upon entering the Punk Pond. Now, this is all the makings and classic marks of an urban legend, but surprisingly, even the game's developers have commented on the phenomenon, believing such a thing to be possibly true due to a memory overflow glitch, causing the game to load in a cloaked crossbow guard to the stage. Now, how this exactly happens is unknown and has never been recorded on video nor replicated in a scientific setting. However, I've been recently pondering this under the new perspective of the stop and swap feature, a cut feature put into Banjo-Kazooie and planned to be put into other games developed by Rare in this era for the Nintendo 64, notably Banjo-Tooie and Donkey Kong 64, in which data could be transferred from one game to another by powering off the console and swapping cartridges within 10 seconds. Surprisingly, when doing this, data packets from one game can remain in the memory of the Nintendo 64 console for just long enough, roughly 10 seconds on the earlier run of consoles, to survive the powering on of a new game. This is known, and this is how the Rare developers plan to unlock, for example, Banjo-Kazooie's famous Ice Key, by triggering some event in Banjo-Tooie or DK64, and then stop and swapping the cartridge back to Banjo-Kazooie. So with that in mind, and kudos to those who brought this up in the comments in a previous video, but is it possible that the Chicago Ghost is triggered not by using some in-game cheat in Perfect Dark or running Combat Simulator in Perfect Dark, but by doing something in another game, or even just playing another game beforehand, turning it off and swapping in Perfect Dark? Could the hypothetical memory leak needed to initiate the Chicago Ghost come from the data packets from another game entirely? Given that the accounts of the Chicago Ghost come from the early 2000s when young gamers were probably swapping numerous cartridges every night, it is a good working theory. However, good luck testing it with all the known cartridges in the Nintendo 64 library to find out which one might trigger some odd effects in Perfect Dark, if any. Though it would be a good guess to start with the ones that Rare released around this time. Given that we know Perfect Dark was developed by Rare and released in 2000, roughly the same era with the Banjos and DK64, and given that we do know they planned these games to check for various data packets from other games that power on, could there be relics of this left in Perfect Dark? Could Perfect Dark be checking for data packets with power on, and in the right circumstances, could this be what causes the so-called Chicago Ghost to spawn into existence? I genuinely do not know, and it would need a lot more investigative work. It's important to keep in mind this is only a hypothesis. There's absolutely no proof or indication that this could be working, but it is a good hypothesis, and it's only come to mind recently since I posted the last Stop and Swap video. It's just yet another theory in the ever-complex legend of the Chicago ghost that we can only someday hope to solve, replicate reliably, and capture on video once and for all to settle and satisfy those curious minds who may have experienced it years ago. So, there, my friends, is a collection of Nintendo 64 oddities and secrets. How many did you know? How did your experiences differ from the protagonists in our tales today? And what are your thoughts on this new theory regarding the Chicago ghost? I would love to hear any and all of your thoughts, and if you have a story yourself, feel free to comment or reach out another way. Of course, check out our friends at SurfShark for all your internet security and safety needs. One can never be too safe at a time like this. Thanks for watching, my friends. Stay true, and I'll see you in the next stream, fireside, or video.